This is our SimplySteno Tough Love series, and the reason we started this was I wanted to really focus on the fact that we're all kind of in this together in a big group, in the court reporting group. We all kind of have the similar issues as far as students. You're all coming across the same kinds of things, and yet we all have to overcome those things to get to the finish line, which is becoming a court reporter, or a captioner, or a cart provider. And so, since it's also common, I wanted to focus on that. And so we brought in, we didn't bring in, we invited Kensie today. We brought her in. We invited Kensie today, and some of you know Kensie. We've had her for our live classes that we give for SimplySteno, and also I'm sure you've seen her online, and some of you are friends with her on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for coming, Kensie. And
thanks for having me.
Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody kind of what you do and what your background is, where you're coming from.
Okay, my name is Kensie Benoit, and I am from Texas, San Antonio, Texas. I was a freelance court reporter for 2 years, where I focused on depositions. I took school board hearings. I did federal grand jury and civil grand jury. I just did a lot of different things. I took medical hearings at the psych ward, which was very interesting, arbitrations. And then 2 years later, I decided that I really wanted to be an official. So I traveled across the state of Texas for about 2 months and tried out for different officialships for those 2 months and landed 6 interviews. Out of those 6, I was offered 4 of them, and ultimately I decided that San Antonio was the best fit for me. I love the bigger city, and I had a really great connection with my judge, and so I moved here about 2 years ago, and I work in a juvenile criminal court with kids that are not much younger than me every day, and I have been loving it. I also teach for SimplySteno on some days, the upper speeds. I was the vice president of BCCRA, our local association in San Antonio, and I am going up for a board position for the Texas Court Reporters Association this year.
You're busy. How do you have time to do all that? You really juggle a lot of stuff.
I think court reporting, being a court reporter has taught me to prioritize things more than anything. Every day I make a list of things that I need to get done, whether it be a transcript or, calling somebody back or different things like that. And I make it a priority.
Okay. Would you say, were you like that when you were in school, court reporting school, or did you get that way afterwards when you had started working?
I got that way afterwards. I felt like I had to be. School was such a routine every day for me, the 8 to 3 or 8 to 2, whenever I would go to school. Working is so different. Whether you're a freelancer, cart provider, official, you never really know what your schedule is going to be like. Yesterday, we were in the courtroom until 5 o'clock. I thought, that we'd be done kind of by noon with our docket and different things, but it just didn't work out that way. And so for me, it's about time management and being able to get things done. And that's why I have to have my list in order to get things done. In school, I felt like I had a little bit more time and flexibility.
Right. So would you say, moving now to the topic of school, would you say you had an easy time of school, a hard time of school, right?
I had a really hard time in school. So I was in school for about 4 years at Alvin Community College, and I got into court reporting school when I was and I moved there when I was 17. I turned 18 a few days before school started, so I was new, and I wouldn't say for the first year that I was the most serious person. I was the first person to move away in my family, to move away from home, first person to go to college, and I was very young. After about a year, I really started taking things seriously, and within that, I got 3 jobs. I worked 3 jobs all the way through school. When I got into about my 120s, 140s, I really started practicing harder than I ever have. I think I probably could have progressed further if I would have put in those hours more in theory, but I just didn't. I didn't make time for that. But I felt like when I got into my 120s, 140s, I really started making more progress when I was putting in that extra work. But I still worked those three jobs, and some days would go to school tired and just exhausted from getting off at 1 o'clock or midnight, and wasn't able to focus the best in test mode. One day I was at my house and I got locked out of I went out to my car to grab something and I got locked out of my house. So I couldn't get back in to change for class, and all I had was my car keys. And I was like, crud, I was in these clothes, but not clothes to go to school. I found some shoes in my car, but I was still in my pajamas, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to make the best of the situation. I went to school and I was in my pajamas and my shoes, and it was the last day to test for qualifiers. And so I knew, I had to be there no matter what the situation was. And basically, I just really made the best of it. And I ended up passing one of my last tests that I needed for court reporting school in, what could have been a really bad situation.
Is there is there any chance that that might have actually helped you? The kind of diverted your thought process to something else?
Oh, absolutely. I think I was so focused on the fact that everybody was looking at me, in my pajamas, and why is she even here if she's, dressed like that, that I really wasn't focused on that test. And I remember that day in class, our advisor, he would, test us out, and, sometimes would ask who can read this back at 260 or something like that. And for some reason that day, more than any other day, I was so checked out, and I was able to read that back at 260.
So we should all wear pajamas to school. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's exactly what
Okay.
I'm saying, Eric.
So, are there any specific things along the way? A lot of times, people say, a lot of students I work with anyway, is like, boy, personal issues. Obviously, family members get sick, or they lose their job, or just a specific day where there's super test anxiety in a special moment, or just whatever. Were there any specific situations that you can think of, or was it all pretty general stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, I got really sick when I was in theory, and I missed about 2 weeks in theory, which is a huge deal when learning your theory and stuff. So I felt like that held me back for a little bit, and I had to kind of, work even harder and teach myself, and work in multiple jobs. I felt like that held me back a little bit too. Um, yeah, I mean, there were definitely some factors that I faced adversity, but I felt like it definitely made me a stronger reporter.
Did you reach that I can't do this point ever?
Yes, actually, there I was in my two 200s, and I, walked out of class one day. I was crying, like I'm sure some of you have done on certain days. This is a tough field. I mean, you go into school and you test daily, and ultimately, if you don't pass, you fail. If you don't type up a test, you feel like you're failing in certain ways sometimes. And so I felt like that one day, and I went out in the hallway and I was just crying, and I was talking about to this girl that was in class with me. I felt like I had people skills, and I wanted to open up this movie theater where you could also eat during the movie here. And I thought I could do that more than court reporting. I definitely thought that. And she wrote me the longest note about how only a certain amount of people have this set of skills and are able to do the things that we do, and how if I had reached to this point, that nothing should be able to stop me, and that it was just in my mindset. And if I could just change my can't do attitude to a can do attitude, that I could definitely do it. And from that point forward, from that day forward, I actually blazed through my 225s faster than any other speed that I had gone through with that encouragement and help from my friend. And I think I finished in like 2 weeks, which, I was in school for over 4 years. So I definitely didn't get through any speed faster than that one. But she was right. It had to do with my mindset.
It was funny because on Tuesday's chat, the thing that got her moving kind of in the right direction, she said she had her butt kicking moment where somebody said, "What's it going to take to get you there? What's the thing that kicks your butt in the right direction?" And then she went in the right direction. And for you, it seems like it was this conversation with this person that
It
was your
was.
kick you in the butt moment.
It definitely was.
Yeah. And so if you had to give a kick you in the butt moment to the people listening now, because a lot of them, I kind of equate it to like a pinball, like where they're just kind of going back and forth and bouncing off things and all this kind of stuff when they kind of need to be going straight ahead and kind of have laser focus. So what kind of things do you think you can impart to the students to say, this is your time to step up and do this?
My court reporting teacher used to say this phrase to me, and it still lights a fire in me. She would always say, "How bad do you want it?" And she would, get me to list things in my life that I wish that I could have. Like at the time, I wanted to move home to be with my family that lived 2 hours away, and my little brother, and just different things like that that were very important to me. So I would write, "How bad do you want it?" And then I would write the things that I really, really wanted underneath it. I think that SMART goals are really important. And, I think that we all have the same in common goal that, we want to be court reporters and things like that. But you have to create these small goals in between to get you to be a court reporter. That's your end goal. But what's it going to take to get you there? All of these little things in between, and after every day you need to ask yourself, how bad do you want it? Do you want it enough to sacrifice a night out with your friends? Do you want it bad enough to just give it that extra effort and that extra time that it needs? I mean, who knows, any given day you can go and pass a test.
You mentioned those, short-term goals also, which I think is super important in this, because if you just have your goal being, I want to finish court reporting school, you're in for a whole lot of failure before you reach it. And so you start like those micro goals. I even like to
Yes.
break it down to days, even like what I do today.
Exactly. And what I liked about this so much, Mark, is that the SMART goals were really cool. Actually got everyone at my school to make SMART goals, and we wrote them down on paper and put them on a bulletin board. I'm talking everybody in the whole court reporting department did this, and it was really, really cool. Well, what happened was, so you have that question that we all don't like: when are you going to finish court reporting school? When are you going to, different things like that. Well, for our families, it's like, you could be like, "I passed a test." But for me, I would show my family my SMART goals, and I would say, "Look, I did this today." It wasn't always I passed a test. It was like, "Look, I got 52 errors on this, and I'm getting closer every single day." And, I had the belief in myself, but to have support from your family and friends, and they know that you're trying and stuff, that makes it even better to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's yeah, definitely having a cheerleading system with you, or even creating your own cheerleading system. Like you had your group of friends and you rallied people.
I
It's not
did.
always it's not always you don't always have
I
to run behind somebody else. You seem to really have
I
fired
created
things
my
up.
own group. I had my best friend's dad, growing up, he said, "You're never going to be a court reporter. Electronic recording is going to take over. You just need to go into dental hygiene. This isn't for you." And he really just shot me down over and over and over. And then, I also had a basketball coach. I made varsity basketball as a freshman at our high school, which just didn't happen. And I made it, but the coach said that I wasn't smart enough to learn the plays. There were certain things in my life that had happened that I could have considered bad, or I could have let that get in my head and distract me. But every negative thing that anybody had ever told me, I just let it fuel me. And I just let it push me that much further ahead, and reach harder towards my goals, because uh, I knew within myself that I could do it. Of course, I wanted to prove people wrong too, but I really, really wanted it bad.
All right, so let's wrap it up with, and beyond the wanting it, desire, the fire in you, and to do it, you actually had to sit down and do it. And for a lot of people, that seems to be the most challenging part. I want to do this, I want to do this, and you can talk and talk and talk, but So you, I assume, sat in that chair a whole lot and moved your fingers.
Um, yes and no. I was taught that, whatever time that you devote to this, it needs to be focus time. I could sit there for 8 hours and pound away at my machine and have my cell phone right next to me, and every second be getting a text, and, I'm pounding on my machine and then I'm checking a text or something like that, and I'm not really focused. What I would do is I would set aside a certain amount of time, and it could be 15 minutes, it could be 2 hours, it could be 4 hours. But whatever I did, I was the most focused I had ever been, and it was just like I was taking a test. I never practiced, or I always practiced like I was testing, and there was no exception.
Awesome. And you're doing what you envisioned, right? I mean, you're doing it. And I think that you probably have more in mind, right? You seem to
Yeah.
be, you never seem to settle. You seem to be keep moving forward.
No, I like to move around, not move around within work, but I like to try different things. What I would encourage y'all to do is, I know maybe some of you want to be a certain thing in this field, but I would really encourage you to get your feet wet in all kinds of things within the court reporting field, whether, it be cart, caption, officialship, freelance. If you have the chance to do an internship, try to sit with every little thing, to do it. I did. I worked at a firm and they requested a court reporter to go do some stuff in federal court, and none of my people at my firm had ever done that. I did medical hearings, at the psych ward. Nobody at my firm had ever done that. I always volunteered. I always wanted to do something else and to try something new so I could say, like, oh, either I liked it or I didn't. And I always have those memories with me.
Kenzie, thank you so much for showing up, and thank you for all you contribute to our field. And I look forward to seeing what you do next. And I'll see you in class next week
Okay.
also. So
Okay.
thank you
Thank
all
you.
for coming, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And if we don't talk to you, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.